Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Voices of Color. We have a special guest and some guests lined up. But first, always starting with the disclaimer that Voices of Color is not endorsed by or affiliated with Society for Creative Anachronism Incorporated. The views of the hosts and guests do not represent the views, values, or policies of SCA Inc. And as always, the reason why we say this is because we are coming into this space, one, as our authentic selves, and because our identities don't end at the gate. That is something that we take with us always. I'm always going to be a woman of color, queer woman of color. It doesn't stop when the garb comes off. This is a place for us to share stories and validate each other as the people of color community, BIPOC community, as well as hopefully provide some information to people who want to be and practice anti-oppression. With that, I'll let my co-host introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Gigi. I am a traveler, dabblist, historical costumer, all of those things, and I participate in the SCA, and I think that's all I have to say tonight.
Okay, and with us tonight, we have Hannah. We had an opportunity to meet with Hannah yesterday and get to know her a little bit. So I'm really excited about this episode. You'll hear some amazing themes. I mean, you'll hear some that we talk about every time and want to continue to bring up and to emphasize to the audience. But before we get into all that, Hannah, who are you? What's your origin story?
So I'm Hannah. I am a historical costumer and equestrian. I actually started out with costuming, and I live in Northern California, so I'm part of the West Kingdom. I actually costume. I don't stick to one specific era. I kind of do like a whole range of things. I do mounted archery, and I kind of got involved in the SCA because of the equestrian stuff. I started costuming in 2017, learning how to sew. I've actually always been interested in costuming. I used to be a stage manager at the Great Dickens Christmas Fair in San Francisco. And then in 2017, my friend basically was like, hey, I'll teach you how to sew if you want. And I was like, yeah, cool. And the rest is history. In 2020, during the summertime, I was kind of like, I have this amazing like culture that is part of my life. And I don't really I wanted to incorporate it into my costuming. But at that point, it was kind of more taking the trim and the fabrics and incorporating it more into like European style costumes or like American, from like mostly like the 1800s. So that's kind of the area that I was focused on at the time. And then I was looking at stuff. Somebody told me about the SCA Persian group on Facebook, and it kind of got me more interested in doing actual like historical Persian costumes, and which was amazing to me because it's my history. It's part of who I am and my family. And it also is amazing because I am an equestrian, and the Persian history is ripe with archers, equestrian archers. And it was kind of really cool how it all came about. I was out on the trail one day and I saw a horse trailer that had a jousting sticker on it. And the people from that horse trailer were actually just coming back into the parking lot when I was leaving, and I stopped them and I was like, "Are you guys the jousters?" And they were like, "Yeah." And so I was asking, and they told me that they do SCA, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool," because I would be interested in doing that because it kind of combined everything that I do. it really does, like, costuming and equestrian, archery, all of it. So I kind of jumped right in. Like, I think I met them in March or April, and then I ended up going to, practices that, the next month or two after I met them. And now one of those women is my roommate. So it's kind of, it really worked out well. And I have been kind of going full out with the garb and everything. Like, I commissioned a Safavid era inspired horse tack set for my horse. I've, made all of my garb and my saddle blanket for my horse. So it's been kind of amazing to just the journey that I went on to like get to where I am today. Yeah.
I love your origin story. I also really love you talking about bringing your authentic self into the SCA, merging ethnicity, background, identity with persona, because it's something that's become more increasingly frequent, especially among people of color who haven't had the opportunity previous to the removal of the Western European, I don't know, it wasn't a rule, I guess it was a rule. But prior to removing that, a lot of us chose alternate personas because we needed something. So I chose French because it was close to Haitian.
Mhm.
But what you're doing is paving the path for all the other folks who want to do the same. So I'm really excited about hearing more about your journey and whatever you feel comfortable sharing. But I did want to know, in costuming, because I'm not a part of that world, did you find yourself immersed with people of color, other people of color? Did you feel isolated? What was that atmosphere like?
So in the costuming world, there are not a lot of Persian costumers. I am half Persian and half, like British, Irish. My dad is the one who's Iranian. So it's been very interesting because no, there are not a lot of Swana. That's Southwest Asian, North African. It's a little bit more accurate than saying Middle Eastern or like Mina. So a lot of people from my region prefer to use the term Swana. So there's not a lot of Swana people in costuming in general. I have met more people because of social media. So there are some, like I can, I know a couple handfuls of people, maybe a dozen Swana costumers, but they're not necessarily in the SCA. They're just, they like to dress up, they like to do history bounding or, whatever, not all of them even so, but they like to dress up. And it has been really lonely and isolating. There are absolutely times where I kind of like look around at my area specifically. And I'm like one of the only ones, doing what I'm doing and looking like me. But I also try to be really active on social media because of that. I want to encourage other Swana people to costume. And I have absolutely gotten messages where people are like, oh my God, I didn't know that there's anybody else doing this. I didn't know that there was, other people who were interested in like this activity. And it's actually not even just specific to costuming. It's also in my equestrian activities too. I am one of the only Swana equestrians that I know of. In my area especially as well. Like I recently had an interaction with the owner of an equestrian clothing brand, and she was like, I had no idea like that there's hardly any Persian equestrians out there, like you can kind of tell sometimes by like the last names that you know, they might be, but they were apparently like mostly in Europe. So, you know, like it's just, it can be really isolating because I have this whole culture that I grew up with, in history that I still maintain, um, that I can't share with other people. I don't like, there's no, like, I can't just like reminisce with people or like share this kind of connection with most of my friends because they don't quite understand, you know, what I've been through or, you know, my history or like even just like how I grew up with, you know, this like incredibly ancient culture behind me too. So because even though I'm, you know, half Persian, that's the culture that I grew up with.
Mhm.
So it is a huge part of me.
I know I can relate. Gigi, you're also in the costuming world and have a show. And you've been doing costuming in color or costumers of color. What have you been hearing from the community? Like, because I know that within the SCA, there are a lot of us who are looking for that place where we can share our stories and someone will relate and understand and have a similar background. I've yet to meet a Haitian Scadian, but you know, meeting people of color is the closest I've come, and it's so validating. But again, I'm not in the costuming kind of area. So is this similar to what you hear?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that I met Hannah was because we were both on social media, kind of with an eye out for other people of color. And we came across each other, and I follow her because I was looking for that connection. And I think that it is a similar experience, whether you're in the SCA, which is a kind of a niche costuming historical social organization, or in the broader historical costuming or costuming world in general, that especially since 2020, with the civil rights resurgence, people are looking for others who understand them as whole human beings and not just the part of them they may share in a hobby. So whether you're someone who does 18th century costuming, whether you're someone who does like earlier Middle Ages, or whether you do like Iron Age, Bronze Age, I've met people across all those time periods doing costuming, and then cosplayers as well, who have had this similar like need to find other people like them, or who at least can understand that the path they walk is different. That if they're in a organization that is very white, that they can feel alone, they can feel isolated, they can feel like their maybe objections to certain event themes are a little are valid. And I think that is one reason that this show was started, right? Because you wanted to talk to other people in the SCA who were like you. And that's why my other show, Costuming in Color, was started. That's why my Instagram page, Reenactors of Color, now Costumers of Color, was started, just because I wanted to find and build a community of people who understood that part of being alive, that part of being a hobbyist. So I think it's amazing to me that Hannah was able to kind of exist in all the spaces she has existed in, because equestrian is also a very white space in America. So I'm really happy that she's finding a way to get fulfillment and also honor her past and the hobbies that she's chosen.
Hannah, you mentioned the Persian Scadian Facebook pages. Am I correct in making the assumption that it's more geared towards Persian persona and not people who identify as Persian?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really, it is. And I will start out by saying that I truly appreciate a lot of the people who have taken the time, like years of research on that page and are really well versed in, like knowledge of Persian stuff, everything, like not just the clothing, but the culture and everything, because honestly, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't really know where to start. I have a leg up over other, people because I am actually from the culture. And while I don't speak the language well and I don't read, I still, like, all of my family in Iran does. I actually had the ability to go and visit Iran, easily. Like, I am a citizen, so I have that ability. But not everybody here does. And I still, like, it is very difficult to get information from over there. So the fact that there is a group of people who have taken the time to do that research, I really appreciate it, because I wouldn't be where I am without those people, so it's kind of, it's really great to have that.
Mhm. No, absolutely. And I think that, if we're going to use the term allies, and we've talked on the show before about not caring for that term, but people who have done the work, especially when we come from countries that we may not be able to access the information. And it's not like we're looking up what is the capital of the state. We're talking about researching history from a long time ago. And so it throws in another wrench, and having people who can speak to your culture. I know for folks, it has been a good place to connect. And I want to remind the audience watching, part of being a someone who appreciates culture versus cultural appropriation is doing the research, talking to the community, integrating and immersing yourself into the culture, and doing so with a lens where you recognize and acknowledge that there are groups that are still living and still continue to experience oppression. So finding experts who don't identify or are not from the culture, I think is amazing. I love to see that. I love to hear that there are experts in the area who can help build that community. Are there ways to kind of get the message out and connect more people? I mean, I don't know if there are more people who identify.
For me, that's kind of why I do social media, and why there's a lot of people who share social media because they seek, validation, or, like they do it for like the followers and the likes. I try really hard not to pay attention to that kind of stuff, except maybe, the followers, because that just means that people are getting more exposed to different content. But I try and share my story and my, what I make and everything, and like my horse and my experience, because I want to bring more people in. And that's how I've had, other Swana customers be like, oh, hey, like, that's so cool. Like, I want to do that, or I want to get involved in that. Or like, I've had people be like, where do you find, like, what books do you recommend? Or like, where do you find patterns? Everything, like, where do you get your fabric? A whole, bunch of different stuff. And it's because I openly share my experience. So for me, that's kind of how I think that I can get my own message across. So
I'm trying to unmute. I'm making sure I press unmute before I start talking. And I think it's really cool that you have that perspective on social media. And I think it's something I find other people of color too. Like, they're not really on social media for a lot of followers and to make money off of their reels. They really just want to meet other people like them and maybe get information out about their own culture or another underrepresented culture. And they're hoping that people see it. So it's something that does bring us together, that we're searching for community, I think. And I wanted to ask you, we talked a little bit in the pre-interview about how your kind of modern life experience intersects with your historical costuming endeavors. And I wanted to have you talk a little bit more about how, you know, growing up in your culture and the things that you experienced as a woman of color in general has kind of been impactful to you and helped and maybe inspired you to want to research women in the past and et cetera, et cetera.
So 9/11 had a huge impact on me. Growing up, I was almost 12 when 9/11 happened, and it really affected me, especially because I can honestly be, you know, white assumed. I am not always, you know, people don't always look at me and they, you know, automatically will like say, oh, you know, she's, you know, BIPOC or whatever. You know, I can be white assumed. And but growing up, I grew up in a smaller community where everybody knew that I was Iranian. And I spent a lot of years, you know, growing up thinking that my dad was going to be taken away by the CIA or something was going to happen. You know, it doesn't make sense, but when you're that young and you have something like so blatantly, like have this whole community so blatantly against your culture and people who looked like your family, it really kind of it did have a huge impact on me. A lot of people hid who they were, and I kind of did the opposite. I was really loud and proud about, you know, where I come from and who I am. Especially like when we, you know, had the Muslim ban, and even now there is actively a revolution happening in Iran right now. And it is hugely emotional for me, especially right now, because every day I open social media and I read about the atrocities that are happening to the people of Iran by the government. And it is like I open Instagram probably, you know, 3 or 4 times a day. And I probably cry at least one of those times because it is really heartbreaking to see what is happening to one of my countries. Because it is also one of, even though I've never lived there, I've only visited a couple of times, it is still one of my homes. And it's really difficult to be here and to be part of the diaspora and not be able to feel like I can do anything, because there's just, like I've said before, there's hardly any way to, you know, communicate and get information across to Iran, because especially like, you know, the United States and Iran have a horrible relationship now. And it's just, it's really difficult to be part of a country that, you know, is really disliked in a lot of ways. And you'll also notice that I use Persian and Iranian both. And that happens with a lot of people, because when you think of Persia, you think of, you know, Persian carpets, you think of like this great, beautiful, ancient civilization that's like, you know, thousands of years old. Persian cats, you know, Cyrus the Great, all of, you know, Persepolis, you think of like beautiful things. But when you think of Iran, you think of war, you think of like the regime, Sharia law, Islam, that it's turned into now, wearing headscarves, the, the attack on the US embassy, like there's all of this negative connotation with Iran nowadays that it's kind of difficult to always want to be like perceived as Iranian for people, because we're not proud of coming from, the current country. The government is absolutely horrible, but the people are just amazing. And they have so much strength. And especially now, they're really trying to like stand up to this absolutely brutal regime that has no problem in killing them, in order to like silence protesters. And it's so for me, like, especially now, doing the costuming connects me more with that. I like to cook. I cook a lot of Persian food too. I've been doing I've always done some of the cultural practices. Like we tend to have solstice events, or like, around the equinox, all that kind of, we celebrate those things. So, I've really been trying, especially over the last couple of years, been trying to connect more with those aspects of my culture. And, so being able to like do the clothing, even though it's historical clothing, we are still a living civilization. Like it doesn't really matter that it's like few hundred years old, because it's still part of my history. And we actually do still wear things similar to this, even nowadays, especially for horseback riding. If people are dressing up, like there is one of the cool things about archery, especially mounted archery, is that it is not a super white sport. It is actually across the world. And they have a lot of competitions in Turkey and in, like Europe, but not more of Eastern Europe. So there is, a Persian equestrian martial arts academy in Iran. And they will wear, kind of the clothing that's more Safavid era inspired than anything else. So it's still, we do still wear these outfits occasionally. It's not completely gone from our world. So I really love being able to connect with my culture on this level, because I feel separated in so many other different ways. So
I think everything that you shared just now really illustrates the point that our identities don't end at the gate. They don't begin at the gate, they don't end at the gate. And when I hear, one of my very big activating points is when I hear people say, leave politics out of the game, leave the modern world out of the game. And we don't have that option. When people of color see their own communities being harmed, experiencing trauma, we experience stress and trauma with it as well. And so I think folks forget, especially with living cultures, again, living communities, that the trauma carries over. It's not something that you can just drop and walk away from, because it is you are it. Not to say that trauma is what defines us, but it's a part of life, especially if you're coming from or a culture that has a long history of turmoil, whatever that may look like. I think about countries that have constantly been in war, dictatorships that are very harmful to the people, killing people, that we just can't separate from that. So how do you balance, or what are some ways that you bring in your culture, knowing that you're also bringing in some of that either vicarious or direct trauma, how do you kind of make the, I guess, really immerse yourself in every aspect from your personal life to the SCA and really embrace it? What are some ways that you are able to do that? Does that make sense?
Well, I can tell you that I have a little bit of an issue wearing headwear. It's something I haven't quite embraced as much yet, mostly because, especially recently, that's one of the things that they're having, like, that started this whole revolution in the first place was Masa Jina Amani was, executed, was brutally beaten for not probably wearing her headscarf. And so I have been struggling a little bit to wear like the proper headwear, just because it is still like an Islamic thing. Even though it's, historical, but that's kind of been like my pain point for me so far. Partially because I haven't quite figured it out yet, but also partially because it's one of those things that I am struggling with. I also try and like talk to my friends a lot about where I'm at emotionally. I'm pretty honest and open about what I'm feeling. I recently, like right after everything started happening in Iran, we went to like the West Kingdom Crown tournament. And I mean, it was like literally maybe a week or two after everything started happening. And I went knowing that there would be people dressing up in Persian garb. And I honestly try really hard not to be a judgmental person. I am never, ever going to like look at somebody and think, why are they dressed like that? Or, what research have they done or anything? I will probably, like I'm more interested in what they're wearing than I am going to be judgmental about it. But that specific time period, because I was honestly going through a lot of emotions, because there was a week or two where I didn't know if my family was safe, because they shut down the internet. So I kind of looked at other people wearing Persian garb with a more cynical eye than I normally would. Wondering like, do you even know what's happening like to Iran right now? Like, are you aware of, the clothing, like the people whose like clothing you are dressed up in? Do you know what's like actively happening to them? Like how they're being treated and executed? So for me, that is, it is difficult, but I'm also never going to say it out loud to people. It's always going to be more like internalized than anything else, because I don't ever want to put like a target on my back for bringing something up. And but it's definitely that was kind of, and I didn't really talk about how I felt about, going there, but I was going through a lot emotionally, and that really, it was probably the hardest thing I've done at an event. And I think it was like only my third or fourth event that I've been to.
Wow.
I think it says a lot about you as a person that even though you were going through that, you still are willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. And I think that is something that we should emulate, that you do, give people the benefit of the doubt. They might have really great intentions. They might have actually done the research. They may be ignorant to some modern things that are going on, but they may have had the best of motives to get into whatever historical vein they got into. That leads me to want to ask you, do you have advice for people who maybe want to study Swana culture and historical costuming in general, or the SCA specifically? Do you have advice on them getting into it, and advice on how they can do it in a way that is anti-oppression, right?
Yeah, so I absolutely do not have an issue with people wearing Persian costume, Persian clothing, but because we are a living, civilization, we are a culture that is still exists to this day. My biggest thing is I want people to research that culture, but I don't, so like if you have the one thing that you're really interested in, you do a deep dive into that. But I would just ask to have like kind of a general overview of that culture. Like there is so much rich history in Persian culture. Like our art is amazing, our music is amazing, the food is amazing. I mean, I'm obviously going to say that because it's mine, but like we have all of this stuff that you can just do some research on and learn a little bit about the history of the time period that you want to do, and then do a little bit of history on like what's happening in modern day as well, because like I said, it is still an actual living culture, and you can see what I'm going through right now, so like there is going to be much more for me emotionally wearing Persian costumes and seeing Persian costumes than there is going to be for somebody who is not Persian Swana. So I really absolutely appreciate it when people take the time to learn. And I've been told by people, well, I don't have time, or I just want to wear it because it's pretty, or because it's more comfortable, or it's better for the summertime. I mean, I've seen all of these like comments, and I am never going, like I said, going to judge somebody when I see them in person. But when I see comments like that, that's what bothers me. I don't, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, then don't do it then, like if you're not going to take the time to learn, I understand people having busy lives, but taking 5 minutes to do even just like a Wikipedia search, so you have some knowledge on what it is that you want to, learn about. Like there is a fabulous Iranian website called Iran Britannica, and I will send you guys a link for it, that has so much information on it that it's a great and fabulous resource for people. And if you have a restaurant in your area that serves the ethnic food that you want to try, so like there's Persian restaurants in my area. I know so many people who have never tried Persian food before. I think that I think research is important if you're going to be dressing in a culture that is not yours. Truly.
You brought up two really good points, and the first is for people watching to remind everyone that Hannah has her I don't know if I want to call them your opinions on people wearing your culture, your guidelines, your asks for people to be respectful and how they be respectful. And it's a huge continuum across cultures, across people, because we've had on the show folks who have said adamantly, if you're not from this culture, if you're not from my culture, we are a living culture, don't do it. All the way from, do extensive research to I'm good with it. And so folks who are watching and have personas from cultures that are living and not of their own, just remember that you may meet two people from the culture who have different opinions. But the other really important piece that you talked about was the trauma that living cultures, living groups are experiencing, and how we haven't really talked about, if you have a persona, even if you've done the research, if you have a persona from a living culture who is currently experiencing trauma, how can you, as a responsible person, address that? I don't know. I don't have answers. I don't know if either of you have some suggestions, but it's something that we haven't talked about before, is being respectful and trauma informed and aware of what is happening, so we are not activating people from that culture. I don't have clear ideas. I don't know if anybody else has ever thought of it. But I think it's a good discussion to start having. I don't know, though. Oh, Gigi?
I don't know either.
I will say that, okay, so for instance, I remember being at, I think it wasn't Penzic, so it had to be Gulf War. So I was at a war, and there was a herald who was kind of like talking about how names give you information about persona, right? And I was the only Black person. I was the only person of color in the group. And when she was going down the list of names, she called out a name. She goes, "And this person is from Ethiopia." I was like, who here has a Black persona, an African persona? Like, it just took me, I was like, why would they want to take that on? I mean, kudos to them. I wasn't upset about it. I was a little surprised. And then I was like, and then I was curious, like, who are they and what made them choose a persona from Ethiopia? And, so I will say my initial thought is, as long as you're doing it respectfully, like Hannah said earlier, as long as you're honoring the culture, the whole culture, even the modern culture, and your efforts, I'm not going to criticize you. However, I wonder how that person, if they kept that persona, I wonder how they understood 2020 and 2021, right? With the civil rights resurgence, with so many Black people being killed in America, and the outrage over it, and then the indifference by a lot of people verbally, like, this isn't a big deal, this isn't a problem, they deserve to die. Like, I wonder how they dealt with that. And so that would be my only advice to those people, is if you're gonna take on a persona like this, you have to understand that it's going to be complicated. It's going to be complicated, and you need to become a person who is willing to navigate it, who is willing to even make mistakes and say you're sorry, but who is also willing to continue to learn every day about it, and respect the people who can't take off a costume and say they're not that thing anymore. Like, I can't take off being a Black woman, even though you can. So I think you're going to have to own all of that. It's not just, and I know we're just in a historical costuming organization, but this is bigger than that. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to really do this, you have to be willing to take all of that on, or you need to stop and choose a different persona.
And I think that's the piece, what you said about that at the end of the day, they get to take the clothes off. For me, when Haitians were being deported en masse and trying to get, come for, my gosh, words are eluding me, come to the States and find safety and being sent away en masse. I can't imagine how, actually I would be upset if I saw someone with a Haitian persona and Haitian garb and just having a good time, because they don't have to experience the oppression. They don't have to look at that garb and be reminded that their people are suffering, their people are hurting. And I know I would have a really difficult time. So Hannah, again, I also echo Gigi's sentiment of, I commend you for working through this. I think part of respect is acknowledging the current and historical oppression, and the fact that if you're not from that culture, you don't experience that, and you get to take that off. And I think we need to design spaces to have these discussions. Like, I know that Voices of Color is a place, but I feel like if we're going to have the discussions about cultural appropriation, we need to start having spaces about, okay, and how do we address current harm? How do we do XYZ? It's difficult.
It's definitely, I agree that, you know, it is a conversation that needs to keep happening and happen more in depth and everything, because it's not just going to happen to Persians or, you know, Haitians. It's going to keep happening to other cultures too, and it should be something that people are aware of, because it does act like it was actively like bringing up some trauma, you know, in my mind, seeing people wearing Persian garb and not being Persian and not understanding like what I'm going through. Seeing them, you know, dressed like that, reminding me of everything that they just don't understand. So,
Right. And it's even more complicated because I'm reminded of some of my First Nations friends were talking about appropriation of their culture for gain, that white people were claiming to be a First Nation native to gain something, whether it was finances, gain a leg up in some way, but abuse the identity, and how harmful that was. And that wasn't something that it was happening greatly up in Canada. It wasn't something that I was hearing about in the States. So I was completely, you know, ignorant of that. And so I can imagine seeing that in the news and that that's happening in real life. And then you go to an SCA event and there may be someone who doesn't identify as First Nations in traditional garb or garb that is close and replicated. I can't imagine the pain and hurt that would cause. I wonder if those conversations are happening as well. It's just, there's a lot. We do have a question in the chat. Someone said, what do Scadians of color want from the rest of us? Where are the lines of cultural appropriation? Hannah, I don't know if you want to start, or Gigi. I have some strong opinions, but.
well, like I kind of said earlier, like to me, you know, intent has a lot to do with it too. If you start out with doing it because you really love it, and then you actually put in the time and effort to learn, you know, for me, it's kind of all about the intent. So, like I said, I don't like, what bothers me the most, it's not seeing the people dressed up, because honestly, I don't know their intent. So and it's because I've had these conversations on social media that I have worked through some of these issues within myself. But I'm not going to look at somebody and what they're wearing and immediately assume that they have, you know, ill intent, or that they're just going to wear this clothing because they think it's comfortable or pretty. But when I see comments like that, or comments that are like, well, I'm not going to put in the time or effort because I just don't have it, you know, I'm too busy, or I don't want to, you know, those are what, for me, kick it more into the cultural appropriation aspect of it, because you don't give a damn about what, you know, this culture means or what they go through or anything about them. You just want to take what you like and forget about the rest of it. And that is not okay with me personally.
For me,
Gigi?
oh.
No.
For me, I have a lot of opinions about this. One of them is that there are a lot of choices you get to make in the SCA. There are a lot of cultures that you could choose that are not going to be this complicated. And if you're not ready to deal with the complexities, then you should choose one of those less complicated ones. I mean, there's a myriad of centuries and a myriad of countries, cultures that you can choose from. And I think one thing that people of the global minority don't understand is that some things aren't for them. So what I want from anyone who's choosing a persona in the SCA is empathy and humility and effort. So if you're not willing to have those things to deal with, choosing a persona from a complicated culture, from a culture that is still living, and there are aspects that you don't understand or you don't want to understand, don't have the time to understand, then choose one that's less complicated.
Want to state before for those watching that there's a spectrum of answers that you're going to get to this question, and a spectrum of feelings, and there's no right answer. I think what we've said time and time again is do the research. Don't just put on the clothing, do the research. Immerse yourself in the culture. What I love to see is when people not only do the research, but they reach out to the communities directly and learn from them. I had an experience on this last vacation just not too long ago where I was immersed in a different culture and had the opportunity to ask questions of people who are living that culture, that identity. And I would love to see more of that. I would love to see people, when we talk about First Nations, reaching out to elders. There's a long process and there's a respectful way to go about that. So I don't want to speak for First Nations, but like seeking out the people who are living this, breathing this, and having these conversations. Again, you're going to have multiple answers, but I think if you are going to choose a living culture, then do what you can to truly understand and acknowledge the oppression that they are experiencing. I also think in general, in the SCA, and maybe just in life in general, because I see this at work too, that we have to create a culture where we can give feedback and people don't take it personally. It's not about you as a person. It's about, an entire culture and how they're impacted on a daily basis. It's complicated, but I think we need to start figuring out how we can have these discussions respectfully, done respectively, bringing people alongside, but also realize that it's bigger than you as a person, and be able and willing to listen and at least hear and consider change. It's a lot of work. I know we're not there yet. Gigi and I are actually in a small group who are starting to have discussions about how we can build allies, because there is fear of saying something. And there's also fear from people of color about saying something, as Hannah was talking about earlier. It's really difficult to step up and say, hey, I'm hurt. And if someone does that, realize that a big piece of that is because they trust you and believe that you can change. And so the least that you can do is listen and have a respectful dialogue and realize that someone is hurting. I know I said a lot. I have, again, very strong feelings about it because it's so prevalent right now. And there's so many communities that are hurting that we have to be willing to have these discussions.
So I wanted to circle back around to some of Hannah's experiences in the SCA. I know that she's in the equestrian community, and I don't get a chance to speak to a lot of people who are in that community. What are some of your favorite things to do, like events? I know you talked about archery. I don't know how many other things in the equestrian sphere that you do, but can you just tell us a little bit about what got you into that, and what are some of the things that you really love about that community?
Yeah, so I literally joined the SCA because of the equestrian stuff and the fact that I can combine costuming with equestrian and Persian. I do the SCA for myself. I dress up and I do everything for myself. I love the fact that I can be as extra as I want to be. And let me tell you, that will be a lot and very extra, because it is my goal to have a fully Persian kit, not just for myself, but for my horse as well. Like, I want the saddle and the bow and a quiver and, you know, the bow case. Like, I want to be able to like go full out, you know, in replicating you know, as Persian as I possibly can be. And it'll be more probably inspired by than it'll be like, you know, completely historically accurate, because I was doing research on Safavid era, which is kind of more towards like the end of the SCA era, horse tack for my horse. And it is so incredibly difficult to find extant actual like tack. Like, there are saddles and there's like the metal pieces, but to find, you know, the bridle, the breast collar, everything, it was impossible for me to find like anything real. And I reached out to every single Persian equestrian that I could find. And did we? Okay, I see. Sorry. I'm reading the so I really love that I have that opportunity to be extra, and it'll be embraced by the community. You know, it's not like I actually had somebody at the equestrian championships this a couple of months ago be like, you actually made me feel like I was looking at somebody from that time period, because I was, you know, wearing the full garb and like my horse was fully kitted out, you know, and it was probably the best compliment that I received, because that is what I want to do. Like, that is kind of like my goal, is to be able to do that and like be as, you know, like accurate-ish to my ancestors as I can be. As far as like what I do, I live with a jouster, and that is, I've tried it a couple of times and I am not strong enough for it. Like, that is something that I just do not have, like, you know, the arm capacity. Like, she's got like seriously incredible muscles. It's ridiculous. So I really like archery. You know, I kind of actually started doing archery outside of the SCA. And then I was like, oh, but we actually also do archery within the SCA. So that's kind of cool. I am going to be starting a mounted archery club within my area. I live in like the greater Sacramento area. So that is my goal with like in the next few months, is to really kind of get a mounted archery club going. And then we have a little bit of mounted archery going on in the West Kingdom, but not a ton. So I kind of would like to bring that back a little bit more. I also play games with my horse. You know, you have like reeds where you knock, you know, stuff over, or there's like heads on poles and you knock them over. So I've done a lot of training with my horse. I have a little Mustang. She's a Spanish Mustang, and she is a little rock star. She's come such a long way since I, you know, purchased her almost 7 years ago, and she loves it. She is totally game to do whatever. We tried to do a little bit of combat stuff at the West Ontario War, this past July, and it was new, brand new to her. And she was kind of like, I don't know about that, but we'll work on it and we'll see how, she likes that. But I've never done sword stuff ever, even either on the ground or on horseback. Archery is I'm decent at archery. I don't want to, like toot my own horn or like anything, but I'm not bad at it. So it's something that I enjoy, and my horse doesn't mind it either. So that's kind of, the one thing that I really like the most. But I really got involved in the SCA because I liked the aspect of being able to kind of like become a painting almost, like, I mean, we have these like hunt scenes, and so much Persian art involves equestrian stuff. Like there's polo was invented in Persia, and it's so cool. I find it fascinating, and just, I love being able to connect that way. So it's kind of,
So I learned something new. I didn't know polo was invented in Persia. And also I guess if I had thought about it, I would know this, but so horses get a say in what activities they participate in. So
well,
they're ginormous.
so when I started doing archery, I started like last September was the first time that I did archery with my horse, and she really wasn't a huge fan of it because you basically have to desensitize them. I know that neither of you are equestrians, so you have to like start from the ground up. You have to get them used to everything. You have to get them used to the equipment. You have to get them used to the sound. You have to get them used to like, stuff falling off of them and like falling on the ground next to them. Like you have to kind of completely, and this goes for any mounted combats or sporting or anything, because when you're holding a lance, you have to also like be able to get them used to it dropping, next to them if you need to like get rid of it, or it's going to hit, the quintain and it's going to spin around. They have to, there's so many of these things that like it could spook them because it's coming up behind them, and it's like, the quintain is on an arm and it comes around and it can totally like spook them because it's swinging and like coming up behind them. So my horse had an issue with the arrows hitting the target because it makes like a thwack sound and a thud, like, as it hits the target. And we had to totally desensitize her to that. And she was not a fan. But then the next time I did it with her, she had no issue with it. She was totally fine. But you kind of have to teach them to like it sometimes, and like with the ground combat that we did while I was on her back, you can't just like go up to a horse and be like, okay, well, I've got, this shield and club or whatever and the sword, and I'm going to like wear armor and I'm going to just make all this noise and like, hit you or get in your space, like the horse's space. You actually have to like get them used to that. So at like the West Ontario War, that's what we did. We didn't actually participate with what they were doing so much. We were on one side and I eased her into it. It was a step-by-step process. So she's still not quite there yet. But the next time we do it, they also need time to process things. And she might be like, okay, yeah, we've done this. No problem. Come at me, bro. Like, because she likes getting in people's space and, kind of, she likes participating in it. She doesn't, do that on the ground, but like when we're actually like physically getting, pushing each other around, she was kind of like, oh yeah, like if she likes to push cattle and she likes to push other horses. She's like, okay, this is fun. I can get into it. So I really, it's a learning process for her and me, and I love it.
I mean, Gigi, dogs going to events, you know, we have to do that exposure, except we're not going to be thrown off or, you know, trampled. I have a very healthy fear, in my opinion, of horses after so many negative experiences, but I find them beautiful. And it's something about the relationship between rider and horse that, unless you're a horse person, you don't quite understand. I've been around horses, but I don't know that I'll ever get back on one. And that's for another day. But I really love watching the equestrian. I mean, it's almost like ballet. It's so cool. So I love that, how enthusiastic you are, and how, you know, the equestrian community, while small, is mighty, for sure.
We're all a bunch of badasses.
Well, I mean, you're hitting heads and, you know, throwing spears at shit. I wouldn't want to meet you in a dark alley.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, honestly, like it's one of the, like, just the combat aspect of the SCA in general is really cool. But, you know, then you also, to me, like, then you also add, like, on top of a horse. I actually, like, I broke my wrist last year and I'm still having some issues. So I just went and saw, like, my orthopedic surgeon. And he was like, "You do archery on horseback." And so I showed him a video and he was like, "You're like cantering and doing archery on horseback." He was like, "At speed." I was like, "Yeah." And he was just like flabbergasted. He was like, "That's pretty cool." So I'm like, I need my wrist to be like strong, so that way, you know, when you're holding the thing, it doesn't hurt. After
Just put a metal rod in it, Doc. Make it bionic. Gigi, you had unmuted. Did you have a question?
No, I don't think so. I just had like the visual of this doc's face being like, "What? You do what?" I mean, I think our hobby's cool, but whenever I remember that other people don't do anything like the stuff that we do, it's kind of, yeah, we are kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that you migrated into the SCA. Now, I know I've seen on your Instagram that you also do other costuming and you do like cosplay, history bounding, like fusion and stuff like that. Do you want to talk any about that, about your costume?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, right now, that's what I'm working on. It's an Edwardian outfit. And it's gonna be like a lace overlay on a nude outfit. And these are all of my Persian garb. I tend to hang them up like right there because I really like looking at them. But I also actually did a Disney Princess Jasmine cosplay in kind of a fantasy Safavid era style, mostly because I didn't have a ton of time. So I just like got some trim and stuff off of like Amazon, and it actually looked really amazing. And I wasn't wearing a historically accurate veil, or like I was wearing a crown that was kind of Persian-esque. And I absolutely, I wore it to the Labyrinth of Jareth ball that they have in Southern California, and I had a ton of fun. You know, but that's actually one of the reasons why I also got involved in the SCA, was because I was like, one of my friends is Coptic Egyptian, and she did a Jasmine cosplay from like, you know, I don't remember what time period it was, but like a historically accurate one. So I was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. Like, I want to do that with like a Persian one. And honestly, the Qajar era is one of my favorite eras because I love the short jackets with the little like hip bump things that they've got. But this is the era that I have the most information and like patterns for, because I'd have to create my own patterns for the other stuff. I also was doing Persian dance in the Qajar style until I had I had to have my rotator cuff repaired. And I have to have another surgery for that. So I haven't been able to do that, but you know, it's kind of, I really like all of these eras. And also just, I like history bounding. I've actually been history bounding since I was in high school, before there was a name for it, without knowing. I just really liked having aspects of historical styles. It was usually kind of like the shirts or the skirts. I didn't do really like any sort of accurate history bounding, but even now, I tend to kind of do a little bit more Edwardian style history bounding, because I really love the vests with, you know, the skirts and the shirts. And I have a group of friends. I'm part of the Greater Bay Area Costumers Guild. But we have such a huge population of costumers in Sacramento that we like, the group of us will go and we'll do stuff. We really just look for stuff to do because we like dressing up. So I do everything from, you know, mostly I'd say 1910s all the way to like mostly 1790s. I have a couple of other items from the, you know, early, you know, 1700s, but I tend to kind of stick between like 1790s to 1890s. That's and then like, you know, the Safavid stuff. But I used, like I said, I used to do the Dickens Fair. So I did, you know, 1840s, 1850s outfits, and I still have outfits like that. And I love Regency era. Jane Austen was one of, you know, and Pride and Prejudice. It's totally cliche, but I absolutely love Pride and Prejudice growing up. It was, you know, especially like when I was too young to really read the full version. I read the short version that they have, like, you know, the hardbound copy of it. It was my absolute favorite book growing up. And so like the Regency era, I probably have a full wardrobe of like Regency dresses. Not joking. So like I probably have enough for every day of the week.
I think that's awesome. So having a wardrobe that's that extensive for your Safavid stuff is probably important, because I know Great Western War is like a week long. Is it a week?
Well, I think most of the wars are you get there on like Thursday and then you leave on Monday or something like that. So they're about 5 days long or something.
Okay, so the ones out here are 5 days. Gulf Wars is a week,
Okay.
a little longer than a week, and then Penzik, of course, is 2 weeks. So like you need to build up your Safavid wardrobe so you can have like 7 solid days.
Well, I'm not even gonna. I shouldn't talk about it. I have a lot of fabric, so
Can I come over?
I mean, actually, I had because I went to West Ontier and I had one outfit at the time. So I had 3 weeks to make enough outfits for like 4 or 5 days. Actually, I had 2 outfits, but one of them was actually history bounding. I had made a, so the Pirahan is basically the chemise for Persian clothing. It's usually got like a really deep slit that, you know, you can kind of make it as deep as you want it, but it generally goes from like the belly button all the way, you know, up to the collar. And then it has a couple of fastenings. But it's very boobalicious. So I usually wear like a nude bra underneath it because I am not doing that. I have my limits to how historically accurate I will get. But so I asked somebody, my roommate put me in touch with somebody who does a lot of, you know, Persian and Turkish clothing. And so she helped me with making a couple of coats and jackets. And like, so I managed to get to Great Western with, you know, a wardrobe of stuff. And, you know, of course I paid her for it, but it was, yeah. So she was like, not sure who she was, like what she was getting when she came over to my house to like look at my stuff. And then she saw my fabric and she's like, oh, I don't need to worry Like, I mean, I have some intense fabric. Like this is
So gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. And then like this one, it's just, because
Yummy.
the Persians absolutely love their metal. They like their metal, they like their gold, their silver, their jewels. Like, I mean, even nowadays, gold is a huge thing for us. We wear a lot of gold. Um, and yeah, I haven't been to any other wars except for the West Ontario one. Actually, this is only going into my second year of being in the SCA. I'm actually pretty
You're a
much
newbie.
yeah. I really did join it because of the equestrian stuff. So but this next year I will be doing a lot more probably. I am the West Kingdom equestrian champion this year. So I'll be going to probably a lot more of, like at least like Great Western and of course West Ontario again. And I'm not sure what other ones, but hopefully I'll be traveling a little bit more with my horse and building up my wardrobe even more because I'm a costumer and these are actually like these patterns, once you know how to get them and you get like your base pattern, they're not difficult to crank it out in a weekend. So
oh, go ahead, Gigi.
I want to make sure I get this right. You're the West Kingdom Equestrian Champion, right? That's the title. Okay, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We had a couple comments. So one was someone said, can't wait to see your full-on equestrian outfit. I totally agree. I don't know if you'd be willing, but Voices of Color, I like to showcase folks from different communities. If you would like to, detail or show progress pictures, I mean, like, we would love to see that. Or I would love to see it anyways. I'm sure Gigi would, and there are plenty of other people. And then the other piece is someone asked if you would be willing to share your Instagram handle. I know we talked about putting some stuff in the comments to like a TikTok video and a couple other things, whatever you have. I think people are going to be hungry for it. And I, for one, I'm so excited for your journey and want to see it. You said Disney bounding. That's when I was like, oh my gosh, Hannah, you're my new friend. Because I am all things Disney and I would love to see like an entire Jasmine wardrobe. So if you do come to Ontario West War, I mean.
So this is, these are the two pieces that I have for that.
Love it.
And I've got, this is the over jacket. So that just to, give you a taste of it.
That's and then you have to dress your horse up as the tiger.
It's so funny. My horse looks like a tiger Mustang. It's a thing. There's a breed of Mustangs that were discovered in like southern Washington, northern Oregon, I think. And they're Tiger Mustangs, they're Spanish Mustangs. And so she's a dun horse. It's the horse that's in my pictures on the Facebook event. And she is wearing, and the one where I'm wearing the blue jacket, that is actually my full like setup with my horse. But that is all of my tack and everything that I have. But I am going to a mounted archery competition shootout thing this weekend, and they asked the lady who I learned archery from, she asked if everybody, like, if they wanted to wear costumes, and I was like, of course I want to wear costumes. Like, I'll totally wear costumes. That's my jam. So I am planning on bringing all of my stuff down there, and I will try and like make sure to get some photos, because the photos that I got because of that, I dressed up fully for the championships, and that's I was one of the only ones who like went full out in my garb and everything. because for whatever reason, that is me. I am that person who will like really go full out. So I'm hoping to get some better pictures than what I got that weekend. I was not super happy with like my hat situation. One of the cool things that I do actually that people do find really interesting is I keep my helmet on when I'm riding. I have fallen off of my horse enough times through no fault of her own. Usually it's me. Because I have a bad hip that kind of, whenever she sidesteps, my leg's just like, well, yeah, we're not staying on her. So I put a veil over my helmet, and then I put a Taj on top of that. So it kind of, covers my helmet and it keeps it hidden, because a lot of equestrians, they usually use like a wrap or something, or, some sort of like drape over their helmet to hide it. And so that's how I hide my helmet, is I take a veil and I put that over it. And then I put a Taj or you can also like, I'll do a scarf or something. So that's kind of the way that I hide my helmet that some people have found really cool. So.
And so you guys can see all these different looks on our Instagram page for sure. And we'll put that in the comments on the video on the Facebook group.
And just so people know, if they want to look now, it's Chai, which is CHAI, like T, underscore and underscore Parche. That's P as in Paul, ARCHE. It basically means tea and fabric. I love tea and fabric. So my dad helped me come up with that one. I was like, how do I need a handle that, kind of calls out my culture and, the things that I like. And so it was kind of cool that he helped me with that.
So that's the way you say fabric in Farsi?
Parche.
Parche. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I don't see any other comments other than people are like, it's late, I need to go to bed. So we always wrap up the show with advice for allies. It can be absolutely anything. Are there any parting words that you have for listeners, whether it's about, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So one of the things that because I have a lot of these conversations with my friends, especially my roommate, who, because she is white and older too. So we have a lot of discussions about this kind of stuff. She told me that a lot of times, like, especially if they're doing like a big event or, some sort of feast or something where they're planning like a year in advance, they will often have like sewing days or days where they're preparing for it, where they learn about what it is that they're working on. So that if they're doing some sort of ethnic themed event, they will learn about like the fabric, the patterns, why they're wearing it. They'll learn about the food, the culture. They have days where they basically get together and they teach about, what it is that they're doing. And I thought that was amazing and really cool and well done. If you're going to have a feast or event where you are doing it based on another culture, then it's really cool to do the research and put it out there for people. So that way, they're not just coming and, partaking without no knowledge of it. So that's kind of, that was something that I really, really liked that she told me. Other than that, like all of us have said, put in the effort to learn and to do research. And don't be afraid to ask questions. I am honestly pretty open to speaking with people about my experiences and, you know, answering questions that people have. So I also really like to cook food. So if I know you or if I know I'm going to see you and you want something,
I'll travel. It's really, you know, everything that you're talking about really has, at least for me, sparked the excitement about rediscovery of, you know, personal culture and integration in the SCA. But more importantly, it really has brought back a conversation or an idea, Gigi, that we have talked about, which is like a Voices of Color event where Hannah could come and cook Persian food and I could eat Persian food. I think we're going to need to talk and revisit.
I mean, I'm cool with that. So I usually go when I go to events. I actually usually bring. I'm fancy, and I have a living quarter horse trailer because I go camping a lot. So I will like pre-cook something and then bring it and, you know, heat it up there. Yeah, it's really. My roommate is always like, can you bring some stuff that you got in the freezer because it's hearty and delicious.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you. It's been, I know people were really looking forward to this show and they're going to, I think you're going to have some more followers after this. So hopefully, you know, folks really paid attention to this episode and heard, especially as we missed the episode of historical trauma, like understand where living cultures, people who are in living cultures are coming from and how that intersects with personas in the SCI. But Hannah, thank you for coming on here, for being your authentic self and sharing all that you have. Maybe we'll have to have you back again. Just to document. I'm so interested in your whole journey of discovery and want to see like it come to life, because it really is an inspiration for those of us who want to do the same and haven't started. So I thank you for, you know, putting it out there and being your authentic self. Gigi, as always, thank you for co-hosting. You're fantastic. Folks, in 2 weeks, I have another guest. Unfortunately, I do not know how to pronounce their name, so I'm not going to try, but look for a poster coming out soon. Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.